Hello, you guys. I have another great video for you, and this is episode 3 from Psych Hacks with Dr. Orion Taraban, who is explaining why rich men may want to hire an escort. Although I will say it's not just something that rich men do. In this third video, he addresses the idea of transactional value. Like, will this escort actually loathe me? Is she going to actually like me? So let's hear what he has to say about paying for services. I'll be back on the other side.
A transactional relationship in no way invalidates the possibility of authentic positive regard. Obviously, this doesn't always happen, but it certainly doesn't never happen. In fact, some of the most satisfying relationships in people's lives are relationships with those they pay. The head of their jiu-jitsu dojo, their stylist or barber, their local bartender, the owner of their favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant, their therapist. Just because money changes hands doesn't mean that the emotional dimension of the relationship is invalidated or rendered moot. Like, as a therapist, I can tell you that I authentically care about my clients. And that caring is a big part of what heals. It also factored into my decision to enter into this profession as opposed to some other line of work, so there's professional goodness of fit. That said, I'm not a charity. I do this for a living, and because I provide a service of value to others, it's reasonable that I should be compensated for that service. Otherwise, my ability to provide that service indefinitely would be compromised.
Yes, absolutely. So then he talks in this next clip about how a marriage is expensive. If you think about the cost of getting married and wooing a woman, I mean, he puts it in very transactional terms, like how often do you have sex while you're married and the cost of the divorce. I didn't put this part on the clip, but he was talking about someone who figured out that when he factored in all the costs of his divorce and the number of times he had sex with his wife, each sexual encounter was $50,000. But again, men always pay, and we're just talking about the sex part for now. We'll get into the emotional part in a moment.
And disinterest for those with whom they have traditional romantic relationships. And while it may be true that you can't enter into the highest relationship potentials in explicitly transacted relationships, in such relationships, the relationship downsides are mitigated considerably. What does that mean? Well, let's say a man hires an escort and has a bad experience with her. He never has to call that woman again. He's out an hour and $1,000. Contrast that with the risks and expenses associated with a loveless, sexless marriage. Getting out of that situation could cost that man millions of dollars and years of emotional hardship. It's far, far more expensive.
So yes, people can be caring when they offer service. People can enjoy their jobs, and you may save money seeing an escort over dating. But what about falling in love? What about love and all that? And it's true that you are not going to fall in love and have that in love depth of experience, but you also don't have the downsides that come with a woman getting attached to you or the cost of a divorce. So those are just kind of some of the statements he makes, which, you can't really argue with that. And then here is the final clip, which I think is just golden delicious. In this final clip, he gets to the heart of something that men really want. Besides just wanting to be just taken care of sometimes, a lot of men never have women who initiate sex. You would be surprised how many women have to be coaxed into sex, warmed up into sex. You got to keep the fires burning. You got to warm her up. She's got to be in the mood. The man has to initiate. And sometimes the guy just wants the woman to just initiate. I'm sure there are women who do. I don't know how common it is. I don't really know. But when I was an escort, just from the men that I talked to, many of them would say that, they were just used to always having to lead. And sometimes men just want to feel desired or to not have to do all the work. It's fun to have someone initiate sex. And so that's going to be the last clip, which I think is super juicy. And then that clip will end out the video. But be sure to watch it to the end and then check out his channel for his videos, which I think is really good.
Women, how often do you come over to your man's place on demand, service him sexually, and then leave? Probably not that often. In fact, many of you might consider such an interaction exploitative or beneath your dignity to perform. It's like, fair enough. But that doesn't stop men from desiring that experience. Like, just because your man won't cook for you doesn't mean you stop wanting to be cooked for. You just go outside the relationship to satisfy that desire, and you pay for the privilege of doing so.